Today's video, we're going to talk about the Google Ads double serving policy and why this rule is basically BS in today's environment, 2025 and beyond. Do not believe the hype that Google really cares about whether you run more than one ad for your company anymore. They really don't care. We've done this over and over and over again now in the last few years to prove that they don't care anymore. At our firm, at Guaranteed PPC, we have to offer guaranteed results for clients. Back a few years ago still, not anymore recently, but clients would come to us and say, hey, Corey, I believe you can get us guaranteed results, but we don't want to mess with our current ads. We want to set up a separate ad account. You set up whatever you're going to do there. We'll see if that ad account gets better results than the original ad account. And if so, we'll work with you. And we've done this over and over and over again. Never ever had a problem. Now, Google used to have a big problem with it like 20 years ago, when I first started doing advertising on Google Ads. The last 10 years plus, they've never cared. It's still officially on the books that you cannot do it. They really don't care. And this is clearly because Google just wants as much revenue as they possibly can get it nowadays, even though it's an anti-competitive business practice technically to run 50 ads, let's say, for your company, all in the same market, all on the same platform, with under the guise that you're different companies to saturate the market. It technically is that it's never enforced, nobody cares. Maybe if you were doing $100 million worth of revenue and a lot of people were pissed at you, they might use that to throw you under the bus. So with that said, there certainly is plenty of times where it is useful to run multiple ads, multiple accounts for your business. Some other times where it's certainly not. I'm going to tell you about whether you should do this or not, whether it actually makes you more money, because it doesn't always make you more money. And if you are particularly scared to do this, even though it is against Google's policies, what you can do to run as many accounts as you want and never have a problem, and it skirts around the rule, technically. And so therefore, it's not against the rules anymore. So I'm going to go over all that and more. I'll also give you a couple of case studies where we've done this before so you can understand how profitable this also can be if you go ahead and do it the correct way. So before I get into the content, if you do not know who I am Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability up front, basically in excess of the management fee that we charge. We're the only agency out there doing anything like this, which should tell you something about the quality of the information on this video. So with that said, getting into the content. Google isn't going to knock you for advertising multiple websites in the same niche anymore. When Google first came out in 2002, they really did not want you to do this because it was so profitable back then. I mean, literally, you could just show up and know nothing about Google Ads and make money every time before anybody was either knew about it or were too scared to do it because it was too new, which is why you always, when it comes to new advertising spots, always want to jump on it before anybody tells you it works, because the getting is good when nobody else knows it works yet. Then you have to be better, which you can do that as well. It's just not, the easy money is not there anymore, so to say. So with that said, their policy forbids doing double serving, which is running ads for the same keywords your company's doing it on two different accounts. That is what technically double serving is for search ads. This doesn't count if you're going to do display ads, if you're going to run multiple display ads, banner ads for your site to the same website. That isn't double serving. It's specifically Google search results ads specifically, okay? Technically, nowadays, you would think that shopping should be included in that, and it is shopping ads. So it's search engine ads specifically. Their policies talk about more so search ads, but I would include shopping ads with that. So with that said, if you wanted to be extra careful, you could, if you wanted to run multiple ads to promote multiple websites that you both own, if you wanted to be not violating Google's rules technically, even though Google doesn't really police this double serving rule anymore, you could run different LLCs, which is entirely allowed. There is nothing in the rules that says you cannot start 50 LLCs and advertise 50 different websites for the same keywords, even though you own all the LLCs. If it's just the same LLC cannot run two different websites and promote advertising on the same keywords with promoting two different sites for the same LLC. Which is why, by the way, Google doesn't actually police or enforce their double serving rule anymore because they know that people will just try to skirt around it anyway. If it's that profitable, somebody will just set up a separate LLC to advertise that other site, and there's no way to police that. You can't stop other companies from advertising on the same keyword. So it's just impossible to enforce. So, and then on the flip side, Google wants to make as much money as they can, so they're just going to allow it. Allowing somebody to run 4 different websites and 4 different ads makes the cost per click go up in those markets, forces everybody else to pay more per click, and they make more revenue. So, which is why they want to do it. The only way that makes sense to actually run multiple websites and advertise multiple websites versus trying and using all your best tactics that you know about to produce that, the best ad copy that you found, the best landing page that you found, the best website design that you found. The only time it would make sense, profit-wise, to promote and use everything that you know works the best and do it towards your own website and own ads for that website versus taking everything you know and kind of like divvying it up between 2 accounts that promote 2 different websites is the following. 1, you have differences in price points. So we've done this multiple times. I've done this in auto parts recently. You have a hit product. What you do is you set up a separate website. You sell it for half as much money. Yes, if you have great enough margins, obviously you could do this. Or you could just double the price of that product, sell it on a different website for that amount, and run the 2 different web campaigns promoting the 2 different websites, knowing there's a certain portion of the market that buys that type of product that wants to buy cheap, or they're a cheapskate basically, and there's a part of the market that thinks higher prices are always better, mainly usually rich people, and they judge quality by price. And for that matter, you can't have the same packaging, but you have slightly different packaging to go along with it, and you can make more money as a result. As it comes to services, you technically could also apply it to this, even though it's way less common and not so prevalent, where you have 2 different service websites promoting the same service, and you pitch, of course, your service packages at one price over the phone versus another price. And so if people are getting 3, 4, 5 quotes, you end up being 3 of the 5 quotes, and you get the business a higher chunk of the time. You can do that as well. Generally speaking, though, where I see it the most is if you're doing it for services, it's for services like air quality testing, where the price is advertised on the website up front, not over the phone. But hey, I will admit, if you were killing it on Google Ads promoting let's say a divorce separation service, and you're making great money and you want to know, and you're plateaued on your results, start a separate website up, and so that the likelihood that they come to one of your entities is actually higher. And do it at 2 different price points, given that, selling at the same price point with a similar quality sales pitch, you end up not going to get ahead, mainly because it's going to drive up your cost per click for both campaigns, which is why you don't do it unless you sell at different price points. Ultimately, you can only have one best ad, and if you run the best ad that gets the highest click-through rate for one campaign, you have to run an inferior ad for this campaign. So therefore, your cost per click on this campaign is going to be higher than this campaign, meaning the ROI is going to probably be either not as good or much lower on this campaign. And at the end of the day, because even though you got twice as many customers, it kind of like defeats the whole purpose because you're going to have a lower ROI on this campaign. It's also going to take away some business from this campaign because some people are going to click on this campaign and do business with this company and obviously never do business with this company. So I can just tell you from experience, because we've done it before, where we ran multiple sites and looked at the overall profitability of the organization that ran the 2 different websites for air quality testing service. They actually ended up not making any more money advertising at the same price. However, when we changed the pricing, specifically on the one site to be at least 50% lower than the other company, that was specifically where it started to make sense and work. Okay? Similar to that, putting the price in the ad is the best bet, as we found. Air quality test, $149. Air quality test, $99. And then why? Because people can then right away self-select for what they want. The cheap people go to this one, the expensive people go to this one. So if you are going to run 2 different campaigns promoting 2 different sites, I would recommend putting the price in the ad, because the whole point is to get the cheap people that you normally wouldn't have done business with because they're too cheap to do business with the cheap website and, make your money off the cheap people, vice versa for the non-cheap people on the other website, you're actually going to get more market share that way because you can market to both ends of the market, that some people that want, the people that want cheap, the people that want expensive, and you're going to have wasted clicks on people that go to the cheap site that wanted an expensive service and vice versa. So that's specifically where it makes sense. The other reason why you put the price on the ads is for purposes of anchoring, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But with that said, the other reason why you would want to run two or more websites, you would want to put somebody out of business. So this is basically like the Walmart strategy, right? Walmart goes ahead and they put a store up in a town, knowing that there might be a lot of competition, but if they put the store up and then they sell their for cheap prices, they could drive, everybody will start going there. They'll starve the other businesses that compete against them for business, and they'll go out of business. And Walmart doesn't have to make money in the initial stages because they got corporate that's making money from their other 50,000 locations, so they don't need to. And it's a part of an overall long-term strategy. Then once the other businesses are starved out of the market, then they can start raising their prices. This is a very common business formula in a lot of markets. And put up 3, 4, 5 different websites, advertise them all. Spend, hire maybe even 3 or 4 or 5 different PPC companies so that ideas, they got fresh ideas for each one. High-end agencies that are really, really capable so that the 3 or 4 or 5 sites that you have actually have better click-through rates and conversion rates on the websites that you're promoting than the competition. Google's going to then, as a result, show of all 4 ads at the top of Google, it's going to be all your companies. Then the guy that was relying on Google Ads for half or more of their business, basically at that point in time, he'll go out of business. Then you stop advertising for websites and you just promote your own after that. If it's a business that requires a lot of overhead, having a warehouse, so on and so forth, very viable strategy to do and to use. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, a lot of businesses, especially in e-commerce, businesses love to rely on Google Ads when it's working, because it's easy. Somebody comes to your website, maybe they call, they ask, okay, what should I use this product for my house? Yes, okay, I'll order. They don't have to really do anything creative. They don't have to go out and figure out how to come out with video ads that work and contact influencers and do all this other crap and find retail stores to promote their products and do all this other crap they don't want to do. They just want to run that. People have a tendency when they find one channel that really, really works to just do that channel, and they assume it's always going to work, and that's it. And for that matter, even PPC alone is stupid. Why would you just do online advertising? What if something, you always got to have contingency plans, and the worst number in business is always 1. The average company is going to be half of their sales is going to come from either Google Ads or the spin-off business they get from Google Ads. That is, organic rankings are there because they spend a lot on Google Ads. They get a lot of repeat business because of their original Google Ads they used to find the customers. And that was their main thing. So once the Google Ads isn't working for them anymore, for the most companies that are scaled up, they're doing a few $1 million a year. They can't take a 50% haircut in their business, going from one year to another. The margins aren't that great. They might have a 10% profit margin. And yes, you could say, well, their margins aren't affected because they're just getting less clicks on their ad. Well, really, they have all this overhead, fixed overhead in the warehouse, fixed overhead in the staff. And then once the ads aren't showing anymore, they're at a negative ROI. Their company's losing money immediately. And of course, it wouldn't be immediately because even if you had 3 or 4 different accounts promoting 3 or 4 different sites, to do that, it would take 6 months of building up history on those accounts to really displace the competitor. But practically speaking, even if it's a slow bleed for the company, if they can't figure out how to get their Google Ads working, they're done. Or they'll have to go back to a level where, that's just them operating the business again. And most of those people are just going to give up. So if you really wanted to be and dominate the market, in a lot of markets, you could just run 4 different campaigns. Some people even do target impression bidding. So meaning they just tell Google, I want to be at the top of Google regardless. I don't care if it makes money, not makes money. I want to be at the top. Do that, which is really going to bleed the competitor dry. But that would be the other reason why you would want to run more than one account and where it would actually make sense to do it. The other of which is price anchoring. In software, when we sold software, what we would do is we would have 2 ads. one ad at the top of Google was set up there from the company A, promoting website A, would say, we have this PC cleaner software for $29. And then there would be another ad that would run for company B that said, PC cleaner, free. And normally, people, when they, going back to the value to price thing, people a lot of times judge quality by price. So if you're giving something away for free, people don't think it's valuable as a whole, unless they already know the value of it. Like if you give away free iPhones, people already know what the iPhone value is, so free is good. But when you're giving something of unknown value from a company you've never heard of, people are going to assume free means low quality, or as a whole, or most people. You have those two ads there. You have the free listing make the paid listing look better and higher quality than what the free listing would be for people that want quality. And then for the people that truly want free, they're going to be like, wow, these softwares usually cost money. I could click the free one and get something that normally costs $29. I can get it for free. And what that'll do is it'll increase the amount of people that you're clicking through your solution a lot more than just having the free one listing by itself, because people are not going to assume how much your value they're getting when they get that for free, because they normally don't know other companies don't have it for free. And then on the flip side, people that want quality are going to assume, okay, this has to be the best one because they're charging money for theirs. So it goes for both sides. So, we would go from a click-through rate of, we would have a 4 or 5% click-through rate on our ad on the free listing. Set up the second listing. We're going to get another 2-3% click-through rate on that. And then with that said, we're going to bring our overall clicks that we're going to get from the available share of clicks that we can get up significantly. We're doubling it basically almost. The actual click-through rate on the free listing went up a little bit once we ran the ad for the paid listing as well, because of, like I said, people saw, okay, well, these softwares usually cost money, so this free listing, this is exactly what I want. And then the click-through rate would go up on that. Then once that went up a couple percentage points, we really did double the amount of customers we could get, because it segmented the market. People that wanted quality went for quality. People that wanted free that went for free. And the people that wanted free, it made extra people go for it. And the people that wanted paid, a lot more people would go for it as well, because they know it looks higher quality, because the other people don't look as high quality when they're offering it for free. It goes vice versa there. So in that type of situation where you want a free offering to look better, you can have one ad that just mentions, so in a market where stuff normally is free, you can have it paid, like software being the big one, and make your free listing get a higher click-through rate because you have the paid listing there. And as long as the paid listing, you're charging money for what you have, is breaking even, well, then that just makes your free listing campaign make more money out of thin air, essentially, which is what it will usually do if you do it right. So anyway, you can run two different ads to make one ad look more appealing than what it would be otherwise if there wasn't something near it that made it look more quality than it is, so to say. That's an example of where we ran a campaign where we did price anchoring and it actually did double what we were making overall, ultimately. Which on the free, it's still not obviously free. They download it as free. So that's a perfect example of where anchoring, even though you had to pay extra money just to have your ad seem more appealing, can actually make you more money as a whole, and you'll get twice as many customers. Ultimately, even on the free listing in that situation, you would have, there's a paid solution on the back end. And so it's just a different way of monetizing the same thing, whereas you're just monetizing it differently with the paid option. You're charging them right up front for the full thing. So anyway, that's price anchoring and an example of how that specifically works. If you're not sure what to do with whether you want to run multiple sites or not, and whether it's going to work out for you positively in terms of net profit at the end of the day after paying for 2 or 3 or 4 different ads to run, you can always leave me a comment in the comment section and tell me your niche, and I can give you some feedback. Or if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about here, leave me a question there. I always get back to everybody within 24 hours. But you can also have a private conversation with me if you reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. I offer coaching. In a 30-minute coaching call, I can break that down for you, as well as what else to do to get your revenue unstuck if you're plateaued with your results right now, or get your ads profitable. I can let you know what's wrong in terms of looking at your ads, landing pages, website, pricing, everything. Or, I can go ahead and run your ads and do a done for you service as well, and we can guarantee your results with that if we agree to take you on. That is, you're going to get so much additional profit from your ads or in general before we take a fee, or there's no fee. Interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com and we can have a discussion about that as well. So with that said, getting back to what I was mentioning here, certainly if you want to run multiple campaigns, you can. You don't have to worry about it. If you want to be extra careful, you can run different campaigns for different LLCs or through different LLCs and not have any issues at all. But I haven't seen anybody getting taken down for double serving itself for more than 10 years now. I've never heard of it. Nobody, it's just, so the LLC thing is overblown. You don't need it. Take your money that you would have spent on those LLCs and make yourself a better website for the second website that you're trying to create so it actually converts well at the end of the day. And then also just running two different websites promoting the same thing, at the end of the day, you're going to be paying twice as much in ad spend, actually more than twice as much, because each campaign that you run is going to have a little less click-through rate than the original campaign had by itself. So it's more like 2.5 times as much as you're spending now on ad spend, twice as many customers or less, because a lot of the people, if you're selling something similar, you're not going to double your sales ultimately. If you have your same sales guys taking the phone calls, you're not going to double your sales ultimately. You're going to be paying 2.5 times as much for ad spend as you were before for 1.5 times more sales. Now, if your ROI is already like 3,000%, maybe that works out for you. But most of you guys are, you're not that lucky. You're going to go backwards in terms of how much you're making profit-wise because of that factor. Unless you're selling to two different customer bases that are high-end. You got one selling to high-end, one to low-end. Furthermore, you likely have two different sales processes completely. That is, different phone salespeople selling it different, or at least you're selling it different to each person when they, you pick up the phone or what have you. Realistically, I wouldn't even do that way, because if a lot of people are going to click on both ads, contact both companies, and when they hear the same voice, you've lost it. You're going to have two different salespeople, which obviously increases your costs again, because you have to have two different salespeople in that case, unless you literally have some way to make what you're selling sell to somebody who you're not selling to with your first company already. There's no point in doing two different websites unless you're trying to starve out the competition and just eat up market share for the reason that you're trying to just get rid of your competition, or something along those lines. With that said, still at the end of the day, the fundamentals, if you run multiple campaigns, like I said, each campaign is going to be less efficient because you only have so many good ideas for websites and ads that will get the best results. The best ideas you have for the best ads on landing pages can only be used for one site. You're going to have less of a return on the second site, and same thing on the third and the fourth site than you will with the first site. But to mitigate this as much as possible, you're going to want to review all the strategies and ideas that I talk about on this channel all the time, because they are truly the best. I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm to give you the ideas about what's the hottest, best strategies that work for Google Ads. And then ultimately, you can apply those to your business and be on. And even though you'll be less efficient with the second, third, fourth site, you'll still make a profit doing it, because you have stuff that's beyond what your competitors that you have left know about and are willing to do, which you got to be knowledgeable and you got to be willing to put the work in. I talk about that all the time on this channel, but just to subscribe to this channel if you're serious about doing this and making money while doing it, if you haven't already. And then furthermore, you should check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. You can find my blog on that URL, and you could find on that blog the screenshots, the step-by-step instructions, all of it that you need to make money using those strategies, and know what those strategies are that we're using to guarantee results that are at our firm with clients for yourself. So with all that said, I'm going to pretty much wrap it up with that. That's double serving, how you would use it, when you would use it, why the policy does, Google doesn't enforce it anymore. I'll wrap it up. Thanks.
Remember when I said Google Ads was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.